Right, okay. Evening, everyone in YouTube land, Spotify, iTunes. This is the TMA podcast. As always, with the Pidge, the man, the myth, the legend, Moobs. Shortly to join us, Mr. Aidan. Yeah, Gordon Ramsay himself will join us shortly. Returning, we've got the under-23's head coach, Laura Dyer. Evening, Laura.
Hiya.
And a first for us, Captain Marvel, under-23's Captain Danielle Maloney. So we are. What about that intro for you? See?
Love it.
There we go.
Right, that's a new nickname, Dan.
That's it. That's the pleasantries out the way now. Let's get down to business. Right. Guys, as always, we're sponsored by Sweets for All, and get onto YouTube for our channel, Tailor-Made Army TV, and also to WD18, the Watford fans channel. They've got some player interviews coming up as well as we. So get onto both YouTube channels and subscribe. And obviously the fans ladies channel, and we'll put a link in the description on YouTube as well. So get on. Absolutely massively important to get onto the fans channel for the ladies as well. So, right, we'll get straight onto it. Right, we've got Dave Quick's come up with a nice one for you, Dan, if you don't mind. He said, describe what it means to be a lifelong Watford fan, to pull on the shirt and play for the Hornets as well.
For me, since I was little, Watford has literally been everything. So to be able to say that actually I've made kind of like my debuts and I played for Watford and been lucky enough to do it for the last 2 years has literally meant everything to me. So I've said it a few times to other people that actually, like, no matter kind of where, like, the level or anything like that, like, Watford has always been home for me. So I've kind of like gone away and come back, and that's kind of replicated kind of the thing that I just wanted to be here, and I've worked hard to try and get here now.
Brilliant, fantastic. Moves?
Yes, thanks, mate.
He's stealing, because I thought Aidan would probably steal him, but...
Yeah, he's too busy trying to unmute himself.
Right, he's coming.
Right. Bear with me, guys, because I've just been caught cold-footed here.
That's all right. I'll shout one out as well. We've got Laura. Dave's giving us one for you as well. Once I get my phone on, it's supposed to be touchscreen, but it's not actually working. Right. What has this season been like for you? This is for me. What's the how do you describe the season? I know it was cut short, but what's your highlights and things that have really caught the eye this season? Possibly player-wise or anything in particular?
I think for us it was going to be a fantastic season. I think up to where we obviously had the cup final, which was obviously now postponed. It was really good in terms of when we come in August. We had a players meeting with the girls, and we told them the 3 things that we wanted to do and achieve this season. One of them was to get to the County Cup final and win it. Unfortunately, we got to the County Cup final, but we weren't able to go out there and take the cup back home, which I know we would have done. Yeah. The other one was to finish in the top 2 of the league. Again, we were really on top of doing that. It was goal difference that it came down to in the end, in terms of Tottenham just hanging on to that bit. And then our third one, was to get past the quarterfinals, or got out the group stages of the League Cup, and the girls did that with a narrow loss against Crystal Palace in the end. But I couldn't be prouder of the set of players that we had, and as I said at the start as well, we had the key players come in, and we retained a lot of players as well that were just our core of the group, and helped the other players to settle. And the players that come in added value to the team. It wasn't we had to start from scratch to show them everything again. It was they were quick learners and they knew what they were doing. So overall, for me, it was a fantastic season. And just seeing how the players grew as a team, I think the team cohesion this year was phenomenal. You couldn't I couldn't really say any bad things about the girls in terms of how they just went together. They wanted it, and they really pushed on and challenged each other. So for me, there was loads of highlights in the season, which I'm sure we'll go on to talk about. But no, I was very, very chuffed. Very chuffed.
Brilliant. Guys,
jump in one?
Yeah, jump in, guys.
Well, guys, I was going to ask. The big news this week is like Andrea departing the club, which I've got to be honest, it sent shockwaves through I think near enough everyone I've spoken to. What is going to be like your what favourite memories are you going to have of her? Because she's going to be, I'm going to miss her massively. But for like you guys, is like, how much are you going to miss her?
Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Go on, go for it.
Oh no, all I was going to say, more than enough, it's just her presence. Like, it's something that I think I've told her so many times. She's probably one of the nicest people I've come across. She's just genuinely such a nice person, and the way that you can just talk to her, even though obviously English isn't her first language, and I remember when she first came, the amount of laughter and banter we'd have at her because she didn't understand a word we were saying. But for her to be able to pick that up and then like kind of return the banter and just be so friendly in anything we want to do, like especially for us 23s, like if we ever had any questions or there was anything, she'd always be the first to interact with us, and that's something that I've always said to her that I really appreciated, and she kind of took us under her wing a little bit, so I'm definitely going to miss her on that front in training.
Yeah, Andrea was such a humble player. Like, she, every time she turned up, she valued the opportunity of being at a club like Watford, and that's something that you could never take away from her. And I think for me, she was always a laugh. You'd walk into training and she's always a bubbly, and you could just have loads of jokes with her. And there's a few words, so I normally say, "Oh, that's Ledge," and she's like, "Laura Ledge," and it was just we would have that little bit of banter between us. But also it was for the girls, the 23s. There was a moment in training where we felt that in the 11v11s that we used to do in training, we wanted to kind of give it more of a battle between us and the first team. And the players were not nervous, but they just didn't know how to come up against the first team players. Like, if they had put a challenge in on the player, would they get shouted at? And we were like, no, that's not the case. And as much as we were saying it as coaches, we needed a player to do that. And I remember I said, Andrea, come over and sit here. And she sat there and she spoke to the 23, which was really good. And then afterwards, you seen the difference in the girls. So yeah, she was the passion, the determination in her, and also she was a funny character to be around as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah, she certainly is. I know I'm going to miss her. Just seeing her on a Sunday afternoon, just turning up before the game, and she just goes like, hello. It's like, it's one thing I'm always going to remember about. She always used to love it when we turned up to watch. So just like I say, I'm just devastated that she's leaving. But I wish her good luck. So
Cool.
Yeah. I see.
Of
Aidan.
course. Yeah, I finally sort of moulded her out. Laura, as you mentioned, you've done the 11v11 in training. How important was that for the girls as a whole, as a learning curve? Because there's things like the first team do that you might see better, and of course, like working alongside Clint Armands and all that. How important was that for you and the under 23s as well?
As a coach, it's very valuable to us, because that's where we do the Tuesday. We do all of our prep for the game, and then Thursday it will be right. Now we have that opportunity. Sometimes we have an hour, sometimes we have half an hour, but that time there to go out and go, right, we've practiced this, now go and put it into practice. And that was a time where myself, Amy or Joe could go and speak to players individually. We could speak to them as units, give them feedback on what we were doing. And also it's that if you can go up against our first team, which we all know have got some very good players in there and play very good football, if we can compete against them, that's only going to boost our under 23s in terms of when we go and play the other reserve teams. If you think when we were supposed to have played Stevenage in the County Cup, Stevenage first team are only a league below our first team. So if we're competing with ours, that's a big boost for the girls. Go, actually, we can do this. I don't know Dan, what do you think in terms of 11v11 as a player as well?
No, I 100% agree with what you're saying about if it gave us a massive confidence boost on the side of actually if we are competing with the likes of the players that we've got and the calibre that we have, that knowing that we can do it meant that going into game after game, it gave us that little bit of extra confidence. And like we were saying, we were trying to build ourselves for that cup final against Stevenage, who are the league below our first team. And kind of without those wins going under our belts, the more confidence we built, the more we felt going into that cup final. Actually, well, we do this every Thursday, kind of not without a doubt or it's a breeze. Like, it's always a challenge for us. But to be able to say, okay, well, we've challenged them, look at Stevenage and compare, actually we should go into these maybe not the underdogs anymore in our heads, especially, and it's definitely a massive confidence booster. And for us as well, it's not just playing and training, that's experience for us. We've got to think of it as actually right now, okay, some of us might not be getting the experience we want, but then you've got to look at it in training, actually the calibre of players we're playing with, that's the experience that's probably most valuable for us now to put into our games to then go on and push on ourselves.
Yeah, completely agree.
Definitely. Right, I've got another question from Dave. He's been. I'll tell you what. He loves his questions. This is for both of you. And he's like, oh, blimmin' hell, phone went off. Right. He said when next season does eventually get underway, which I'm hoping it's not too far away. He said, would you guys play a friendly against Stevenage and put the County Cup Challenge title on the line?
Great idea.
Hans, I'll let you go first for this one.
I'd love to have a friendly against Stevenage, because that was my club 2 years ago. That's where I was for a year, and obviously I'm friends with a lot of the girls, and being able to throw a bit of banter on that side would definitely be a laugh. And I know that for them, they'd definitely be up for it, because they've got this stigma against us if they beat us in the cup final. And it's not just Watford beats in the cup final, they look at it as, and I know some of the girls look at it as under 23's, quite a lot of youngsters have beaten us. And when you look at their team, they've got a lot of experience, just like our first team have, and they're definitely ones that kind of ruffle their feathers a little bit. I know it definitely did, and they would definitely be up for a rematch. If it's cup final or not, they'll treat it like a cup final, and I think that's the team we got to look at it as. And I know they'd be putting in challenges left, right, and centre, but that's the games that we want to play in, those nitty gritty, if it's a friendly or not. But I know that I'd love it, and I would, obviously the girls would text and we'd have a bit of banter, but it's down to Laura and that lot at the end of the day.
Yeah, get the call done. That's got to happen.
I was going to say, I think you better ring Grace quickly.
That's it. I've already emailed right now. Already done. One more. I was quickly sorry, Aidan. One more. Seren said, "What's your favourite sweets?"
Oh.
There's
Got to be fizzy cola bottles. Cola bottles.
Yeah.
They're oh.
For me, it's got to be the cherries. You know, the cherries that you can get.
They're good.
They're good. Or strawberry bonbons. They are the one as well.
But definitely fizzy cola bottles if you're listening, sir. And so, you know.
That's fizzy cola bottles for you. There's probably strawberries for Laura, and I've definitely guaranteed another box for the plug as well. So that's good times all round, I think. Sorry, Aidan. Go on you go, mate. Yeah, mate. Anything sweet.
I just wanted to know, of course, in every league, you always see that one team as a massive rival towards you, whether it be in league, cup, no matter what competition it is. Who would you guys see as your main rival?
Do you want to answer this first? Go on.
I was going to say, for us this season, we had two at the start, and we knew they would probably be one of the higher achieving ones in terms of Tottenham and London City. But I think as the season went on, and we had a few games of these as well, London City, I think, was the ones that the girls would want to go out there, and we were looking forward to the return match with them in the league, because they were ones that we really wanted to get back. They were the only ones to beat us this year. And they were the ones that the girls were like, right, we've got London City on this day. This is who we need to go out there, and we need to get the 3 points. Don't get me wrong, we knew Tottenham was high up there as well, because at the end of it, they were at the top of the league. And we knew if we beat them and we beat London City, the league was near enough ours, because we weren't going to slip up. I can say that we weren't going to slip up. Well, I wasn't going to let them slip up either. And I think the girls knew that as well. So they knew what we wanted, and for me, I think it's just that little bit of battle and that little bit of grit in the game. It would have been London City.
No, I agree. I think the last game we played against them, I think it definitely did a lot of injustice, that it wasn't obviously the scoreline that we'd hoped for, and it wasn't the scoreline that we thought really reflected the way that we play and the team that we were. So that was definitely one for us where we thought, like Laura was saying, we kind of looked at the date, go, right, this is it, and now we've got to put in the hard work and almost that little bit of nitty gritty, like we were saying with Andrea, just giving us a bit more of an oomph going into those 11v11s and giving it a little bit more to the first team to prepare ourselves for those games, because them and Tottenham, we've always known are going to be a bit more, not just technically, but they were physically like very good teams, which we wanted to show actually we can compete not only on a technical level but on a physical level. But I would say that London City probably edged it, but like you're saying, we'd never ever shadowed Tottenham. We never ever said that they were out of it, because like we said, they finished top. And for me, when I've been growing up with Watford, it's always been Tottenham, it's always Watford and Tottenham, and it's always been the games. But London City was a massive one for us this year.
Cool.
I just did think of another one that's just gone back out my head again. I'm clever. No, trust me, I'm not happy. My brain's frazzled.
Yes, I'll throw one out. What's the transition between? I think I probably asked you this before, Laura, and you very kindly came round for the other podcast. The transition between the reserves and the first, or the under 23, shall we say, and the first team. Do you think over the last couple of years it's been smoothened out and there's much easier transition for the girls to sort of say, shall I say, upgrade to the first team, or do you still see there's still that step is being made easier? So still work to be made, trying to transcend up from under 23 to first.
Yeah, I definitely think it's been easier, and I think it helps that as a coaching group we're all pretty much together. There's no right, Law, you're the 23s, Amy and Joe, you're the 23s, off you go, and then it'll be Clint, Arm, and everyone else go on the other side. It's more right, we'll have a little chat about what's going on. It might be before training. It might be that Clint might call me on the Monday and just say, right, how did everyone get on? And we have conversations around who's doing well, who do we really need to push on, and get them into that first team, give them a bit of that experience so they go, actually, I am capable of doing it. So in terms of that transition, it has smoothed a lot more over the last couple of years. And the fact that I know that I can pick up the phone, I can call Armand, I can call Clint, it helps as well. And I think where we all train, we're all lucky enough to train at the same time, train at the same venue. It just helps a lot more because the girls get to interact with each other as well. Yeah. And I think it's not only about preparing the girls to go up there and know actually technically they're great and hitting it in a football sense, but also that they have the bond with the girls going up. So when last probably 2 months of training, we were starting to merge parts of training together. So the girls had that opportunity to interact with the first team players. So the likes of Dan's, and she could go up against and talk to Emma Beckett, or Bex as she's known as, about her different roles. What is she currently doing? And Dan's could get feedback in that sense. So yeah, it's definitely getting there, and I think it's a club that really wants to push on their youngsters, and there is a focus around that.
Cool. Moobs, did you get your question?
Yeah, I've remembered it now. That's why I was frantically writing it down so I didn't forget it again. Honestly, it's been a long week, so bear with me. Guys, I wanted to ask you, how did it, when the news broke, when we had all the COVID outbreak and everything, and the FA announced that the seasons were going to be null and void, how did you guys feel about that? Because, I know with the first thing, there was they were pretty downhearted, but, for you guys, because you were like right up there in the mix, like say at the County Cup final, how did you guys feel about it?
Obviously, I was disappointed when that happened, but then after I settled down and thinking, actually, the reasons why it's done that is because of the current situation. when did we ever know it was going to be safe for the girls to go back? Would it have ever been safe? And also that vital training and that they're missing out on as well. Because it would have been, even if it was to have come back last month, the girls still would have needed training leading up to that. And at that stage, we knew even from the FA guidelines that you weren't able to go back. If you think the men's only started going back training end of May, so it's building that timeline. And I think for the health and safety of players, coaching, and all the staff, I think at that time, yes, you're disappointed, but then you know it's for the right reasons there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Of course, at first, I think any footballer is going to say they're going to feel a bit disheartened, especially in the situation we were in. But ultimately, you've got to look at the bigger picture. And we all knew that it was the right decision. And as tough as bitter as a pill it was to take, we all knew that was the right thing. And actually, ultimately, I think we all knew that actually we would have felt unsafe going into training had it been going back as quick as it was, or had this season continued. So I think from that front, yes, okay, we're disappointed, but like I've said before, we look at it now as, okay, the season ended how it was, look at the things we achieved. We've been able to tick things off our list, like Laura said previously. We made it to the cup final, we finished in the top 2, and we were able to look back on our performances and go, actually, do you know what? We've done ourselves proud for as long as we can.
My throat's going again. Brilliant. Aidan, has Aidan got one? Because I thought he's just sitting there looking like he's at church or something.
No, I was listening. I'm intrigued in what they're saying.
Oh, that's all right then. I'm just getting worried, mate. That's all.
No, I'm intrigued in what they're saying. I do have one. What is it like when one of the players actually gets called up to the first team? How excited are they? Like, who's mainly the first one that gets the text or phone call saying that they've been called up to the first team for whether it be in a cup match or league?
So it would go within training that week. So when the girls, there's quite a lot of the girls that got called up for the Kent game. So that week, the girls that were going to be involved in that game, they went and trained with the first team. So they'll train Tuesday, Thursday, and get a bit of time in the 11v11 to understand formation, the tactics. And then it would be down to Clint to call them and say, look, you're in the squad. And then it will be announced on the Friday. So all squad players get to see who's in that squad. So for the girls, I think it's a massive achievement. Now, Dan, you were called up to that one, so you could probably give a bit of players' perspective around that as well.
Yeah, no. Well, being called up for that game, like we were saying, you go into training and, okay, yes, we get the time to go with the first team, but nothing's ever guaranteed. So that's then your time to go, okay, we look at the system they play, we get used to playing it, and then you've got to prove that actually you deserve that place and you deserve that call up. And once you get that call, once you kind of we got that text on the Friday morning saying you're in the squad, it doesn't get a much better feeling, especially for myself, someone who has grown up, like you said, Watford, men's and women. It was amazing for me. And actually back in, I think it was October, I think I was lucky enough to get a call off Grace, and I got my first call up there against Portsmouth in the cup game. And for me, I think I was the first 23 to get the call up kind of this season. And for me, that was a massive achievement, because I've known I'd worked so hard last year and I'd put in the graft to kind of start the season off, and just to get rewarded going along on the bench and just being involved in the atmosphere on the match day, that's the experience that we're so desperate for and we're so hungry for. And once you get it, you kind of don't want to let it go. And that's why then we got rewarded. A lot of the girls got rewarded when it came to the Kent game. And I think from then, a lot of them then realised, actually, being involved in this environment, this is what I want. And it definitely stepped your game up when it comes to training the following weeks.
That must be so rewarding for you guys, putting in such hard work, and also for Laura and the team, knowing that all their hard work and perseverance has paid off. I mean, what is it? What was your feelings when you got called up the first time? Were you really nervous, or were you just took it in your stride and just said, look, I'm really pleased, but it's quite an easy transition for me?
Of course you're going to be nervous first, because it's not more the fact that it's not the first team, it's just you're not used to playing with that team week in, week out. It's just the system might slightly be different, or a position may slightly be different to what you're playing. So of course it's nerves, but ultimately the thing you've got to think of is, well, I've been called up for this reason. There must be something behind it. Now, if I do get the chance to go on, that's absolutely great, and I'm going to prove why I should be in here and actually give them a bit more of thinking of, okay, well, actually, if she's come on for this player, she should be considered for the next couple of weeks. It's not just a one-time thing. It should be the girls are hungry enough that when they get the chance, they're thinking, well, actually, no. Yes, we love the 23s as much as we do, but ultimately we want to be in that first team, and we've got to make them have a decision. So for me, it was all about actually, okay, brush the nerves away. I've got to be excited for this, but I've got to be hungry for it.
No, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Now, I think you guys, how much, I mean, I know Aidan and Moobs turn up every single week, but you hear stories, they gave us such fantastic feedback from you guys as well. And it's the hard work. We saw the ladies documentary as well, the London one. And, it's, you know, people that don't know, I know these guys want to come in with stories. So guys, I do apologise. But you just see the hard work that, I know, a few stories. The hard work you guys put in, and people that don't watch ladies football are not really don't really know the system around football. They just watch the men's football, don't realise how much work you guys actually put in and how fit and dedicated you are to playing. It surprises a lot of people as well. I know this sounds silly, but it does actually surprise a lot of people how good the actual ladies football, the quality is actually about now.
No, I agree. I've spoken to a couple of people over the last few weeks kind of around this, and I've said that it's obviously great that people are starting to kind of take a bit more notice of us, but I think ideally, like you're saying, obviously people are a little bit shocked at kind of what they're seeing and actually how good the women's game is, and I think it's just a little bit of naivety on their part, kind of like not really wanting to engage in the game, and kind of when they finally do, it's a bit of a shock for them. But I just think it's just people being a bit naive to start with, really.
I think we're lucky as well at Watford that, and I can hand on heart say this, just not because you're in the room as well, but we have the best fans in the league. We honestly do, and the amount of support and effort that everyone they put in for our game is fantastic. Now I'm always getting texts or messages saying, "Well, when's this game?" and it will go across both forums that you've both got set up, and that's fantastic. And to see that you want to support the game just makes our time a lot more, I don't know, it makes it enjoyable, because we know actually we're going to turn up. And I think there's been other teams where they're like, well, how have you got, I think it was Norwich, there was a couple of them, how have you got fans like come all the way up here? And I'm thinking, that's our fan group, and they're like the under 23s, and I'm like, they would travel anywhere if there was a free weekend, they'll travel anywhere to come and support us, and it's fantastic. So I think just breaking down that little barrier of having them fans come, and then what will happen is it was a ripple effect, really. A couple of you started to come, and then you'd say, oh, why don't you come down and have a look at the game, and then you'll get more people down. So I think it just takes for 2 or 3 people to have a look and go, actually, it's football. Just because it's on the news, it says women's football. It's football at the end of the day. We still have the same tactics. We still have the same positions. Yeah, we're still playing the same pitch, the same goals. Everything it's just football. And the only reason why it says women's on a news thing, it's just to show that we're talking about Watford in the news today, and it's Watford ladies we're talking about when the club put it out. But other than that, it's football.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be perfect scenario. Everyone will just say it's football rather than you have to put women's. That'll be the perfect ending to it, wouldn't it? Sorry, mate. Go on, mate.
No, I was going to say, look, you touched on the Norwich one. I know it was Seren that was behind all of it for the under 23 game, because he'd gone up to Norwich on the Friday to see the men play and was staying over, and he was begging me and the others to drive up. And I said, look, mate, there's no way it's going to happen. I'm too tired. But I'm sure you can round a few people up that you know up there. And he went, oh yeah, I actually know about 4 or 5 people. I was like, well, bring them up then. Yeah. Because I think the first team had a home game that day, or were they away? I can't remember where they were, but and he kept messaging us saying, oh, I've got all these fans here. I was like, what have you done? All of a sudden, it was a case of, actually, well done, mate. That's brilliant.
No, definitely. And I think as well, a big thing for us was the County Cup semi-final. That was,
I remember that.
Oh, that was mental.
but for the 23's to have that many fans there on that game, and I think it did give us that extra boost, like being behind the goal and you could hear you lot singing, and I was like,
Me leading the charge.
At one point, I think it went a little bit silent, and I felt like going, "Okay, come on, keep going." And probably you were all getting a little.
You should have.
Aidan, come on.
But it was great, and for us, it gives us that little bit of boost. See, actually, there is people here that are turning up just to watch us, rather than it being parents and family members or friends of the girls that turn up. It's nice to know that we actually have that support, and like I said, when the songs were coming on, for me, that was it. I was like, keep going, just keep doing whatever you can, keep going. And you did. And I think when we scored that second goal, I think at the time I was sitting in the dugout because I was like, oh my gosh, are we going to get this goal back? And then when we scored, and then just to hear the cheers, and I think I looked down at one point, I think you're all just behind the left-hand side of the goal, and just to see you all jumping, and I was thinking, right, okay, I think I ran onto the pitch at that point, thinking, no, Laura, it's not the end of the game yet, come back. Like, involved in the atmosphere. But no, it was fantastic.
Yeah, of course. Go on, Miz.
No, I was going to say, I think the bit where we went, I think the bit where we went silent was probably when we'd had abuse back from the Colney centre back who couldn't handle us shouting and hollering throughout the game. She had to right up. And I think that's why we went a bit silent, because we were like, "What have we done wrong? We haven't done anything." And yeah, I think that's when we went quiet. Aidan will back me up on that, because we went because she didn't like us one bit, especially when there was a shout for a penalty, and she went, "Oh, they didn't touch us." Like, you did.
Well, you guys went silent. I didn't, because you know me. I don't really care. I'll get behind the girls one way or the other, because it's us there to support Watford. We're not supporting the other side. If anything, we're against them, just like the team are. So if they're angry at us, they ain't focusing on the game. So if anything, we're doing our job, really, because the girls can hear us on the pitch, and they're getting behind us all the whole way. They can hear us and wanting to roar themselves on and feel like they get that second win. But if the opposition are keeping an eye on us and not the game, then we're going to exploit that one way or the other.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Unfortunately, we have to probably wrap this up now, guys. But and ladies, I don't want to say guys and ladies as well. Laura, thank you ever so much. Danielle, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you for the first time as well. Obviously, these guys will probably reflect that as well. No, we'll definitely have you back on as well. Also, it's a big shout out to Paul Perkins. Unfortunately, he's passed away. Watford fan, lifelong Watford fan. This is dedicated in his memory, and all the week on the forum as well be dedicated to the memory of Paul Perkins. So rest in peace. Condolences to the family as well. So just prayers and thoughts to the family as well, guys. So thank you ever so much. Just to everyone, if you've managed to stay on for the full half an hour, just remember, get onto YouTube, the ladies fans channel, latest fan interviews, blogs, and our channel, and WD18, the Watford fans channel as well. Get on the YouTube, just subscribe to all of them. You know you want to. And like I say, once again, guys and ladies, thank you ever so